And bring in two friends, Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor and Fox News contributor, and Michael Goodwin, New York Post columnist. Thank you, gentlemen, for talking about this. You know, Michael Goodwin, you're the New Yorker along with me, but Charlie is a New Yorker in spirit because he's had to put up with me over the past year on many different subjects.
And I worked for the New York Post for 5 years.
Oh,
That's
Charlie,
right.
I didn't know that. No wonder you're so darn good. I did not know that, although the Washington Times is awful good paper, too. Well, I'll still begin with Michael Goodwin. Michael, I mean, you know, this must be a game changer. These tragic deaths, combined with the remarkable turnout of the Blue Line up and down Fifth Avenue, thousands of cops on the streets. You and I talked about this Saturday on the radio. This has to be a game changer, Michael Goodwin. Otherwise, I think we're all going to lose hope. So tell us what you're thinking about this.
Well, Larry, to me, these funerals really do harken back to the aftermath of 9/11. Now, obviously, the scope of the tragedies is very different. But then you had a lot of funerals for police and firemen in St. Patrick's Cathedral, as both of these funerals were. And you had this sense of a catharsis that this was the end. This was the bottom of something, and it could only go up from here. It was a resolve about, you mentioned Rudy Giuliani, of course, the mayor then. And I think there is a resolve now, but it's not clear how far it spreads. And I write in my column in today's New York Post that, President Biden is coming here tomorrow to meet with Mayor Eric Adams to talk about crime. Now, as I say in the column, Biden needs Adams more than Adams needs Biden. Adams is clearly committed to making the city safer. He's run into obstacles, but there's little doubt about his personal commitment at this point. It's Biden who we wonder about. Is he committed to safer cities across America? So if he were to come here, and this is a fight among Democrats. You mentioned the legislature, you mentioned the governor, the city council. Like Adams, they are all Democrats. They are standing in the way of a Democratic mayor, a black Democratic mayor who used to be a police officer. He wants to crack down on crime, and it's these civilian Democrats, these far-left Democrats in the city council in Albany who don't want to crack down on crime, who want to coddle the criminals. And so that is the battle. I hope Biden weighs in and helps Adams move the ball forward.
Yeah, Charlie Hurt, so let's just pursue that. There's a couple of points I want to pursue, but Michael's last point, we hope Biden helps Eric Adams. But you know, Charlie, Governor Hochul had a chance to spank this left-wing district attorney, and she flunked. She also has not backed up Eric Adams' call to change, you know, no bail, no jail. She hadn't lifted a finger there. And she really hasn't said much support for his idea of putting more plainclothes cops on the beat. And you know what, Charlie? We not only need more plainclothesmen on the beat, we need them in the subways. We need them on the streets everywhere. We need them in the business districts. And there's 5,000 some odd fewer cops today than there was a year or two back because of various cutbacks or, you know, disillusionment and demoralization. So enter Joe Biden. What's he going to do, Charlie Hurt? What do you expect to hear from this guy?
Well, and that's the real frustration, I think, is that, you know, Joe Biden has had so many opportunities over the past couple of years, both in the White House and then when he was running for president, to smack down the far left wing of his party and stand up for basic lawfulness, basic equal justice under law, backing up cops who are trying to do the jobs, carry out the laws that lawmakers make. And he's failed to do it at every turn. He's chosen instead to go for the crazy left-wing rhetoric, trashing cops and encouraging crime, which, of course, has, you know, is exactly what we see the end product of that in New York over the past year or so. And so sadly, I don't think we're going to see anything come out of Joe Biden. I don't think he's going to change anything. He's not going to go back to that sort of centrist Democrat that he was for the first 500 years of his political career. He's really kind of run off with the circus in the past couple of years, and I don't think there's any coming back for him.
You know, Michael Goodwin, Biden's going to come here and talk about gun control. That's my forecast. Okay, I don't think it's a brilliant forecast. I think a lot of people think the same thing. This, as we have all three talked, this city and state have the toughest gun laws in the country, and we're having the worst crime wave in our history, or at least in many, many decades, maybe in our history. It's not about the guns, although it is. It's about the criminals who shoot the guns and the criminals who shoot, like this stupid, jerky rapper person, Sea Blue, whatever. You know, revolving doors, either no bail or bail he can afford. This guy should be in the lockup. They should make an example of him. It's the criminals who are using the guns to shoot cops and citizens. And by the by, it's the criminals who are pushing people off the ledge in the subways, or it's the criminals who are attacking people in broad daylight on the major thoroughfares here in Manhattan. It's about criminals. When are we going to do something about criminals?
Yeah, Larry, you're right. I mean, this is not hard. The facts of this are not complicated. This is simply a breakdown of law enforcement dictated by the political class, Joe Biden included. You know, on the bail law, for example, what Eric Adams wants to do is to just simply let judges consider the dangerousness of the suspect to the community if he or she is released. That's all. Every other state, 49 other states and the federal system give judges that discretion. New York no longer does. And so there's a case where even that rapper that you mentioned, he shot a cop, allegedly. He gets out on bail of $250,000. That, the actual setting of the bail is unusual in this city and state right now. But even then, the judge could have said, look, I have lots of videos here of you with guns. You've shot a cop. You know, you're a danger to the community. I'm going to hold you until trial.
Yeah,
that's what a judge should be able to do in those circumstances, but the New York state law does not allow it. That's what Adams is pushing for. That's the one bail request he has made. That is not complicated. That's not hard. That should be easy to do.
Yeah, spot on. Sure, because this kid can afford it because he sold records and whatnot. He could afford it. He should be in the lockup. But Charlie Hurt, last point here. This is a New York story, but it's a national story, isn't it, really? It's a national story.
Absolutely.
And when Biden comes here, he really makes it a national story, since he's the president of the whole country, at least in some theoretical sense. I mean, the country has been coddling criminal. I mean, you've got, it's not for this segment, but you've got federal nominees to high positions in the federal government, okay? Biden nominees to high positions who have actually provided help on bail money for protesters and rioters in the last couple of years. It's really quite remarkable. And you got all kinds of politicians, from AOC on down, right, who were defending the Black Lives Matter, who were defending the rioters, who were defending the looters, right? I mean, where's the president here, okay? This is a national story, make or break. 5,000 or 10,000 cops on Fifth Avenue coming down from St. Patty's Cathedral are saying, help us. So where's the help? Charlie Hurt, I got to give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, the sitting vice president of the United States of America contributed to help raise money for bail to get these rioters out during the summer before the election.
Right.
And there is no moral authority coming from these people. And, you know, big elections usually turn on one of two things, either economics or security. And this is shaping up to be an election that's going to have both economics and security. And you're talking about a truly explosive election, but there is no issue on the planet, whether you're in America or in sub-Saharan Africa, anywhere, that is more important than security. And when people don't feel secure, then government has completely failed. And that's why this is an important national story.
Spot on, spot on. I mean, it's the most basic human right, safety. Be secure. You, your family.
That's why we
your
come
kids.
together.
So that's great. That's right. So this is a safety, security story. This is an economic story, because without basic security, you can't have an economy. And we're learning that painfully in New York City.
Right.
The crime down there, I mean, Miami's got crime, and Florida's got crime, and Texas got crime, but not like this. I'm sorry, not like this. And we're learning it the hard way. All right, gentlemen, you're terrific. It's kind of a sad day today, but I appreciate your inputs. Michael Goodwin and Charlie Hurt. We'll talk soon.